Hello, my loves. Welcome to your reading. It's Marae from Yin and Juice. I'm being called this week to do a reading for the collective around work and career. I think for me, this has come through quite strongly with some of the work that I've been doing also for myself. And just a time where, from people that I've been engaging with and talking to, that there's a sense in the community that a lot of people are feeling the desire to either shift something in their career or change something in their work, or to kind of figure out if they need to take divergent paths. So I thought it'd be a good time for us to come together as a collective and see what the cards have to tell us. So I am going to warn you that there may be some background noise. I apologize. The beauty of living in urban Sydney life and being 20 minutes away from everything also means that there's literally traffic right outside my door. But I really wanted to get this reading done, so hopefully that background music will feel slightly soothing as and a juxtaposed to when that giant truck hopefully doesn't come through, but if he does, I apologize. Anyway, so I thought I would start by looking at some archetypes and sort of seeing what's going to come through. So let's have a look at the first archetype. So this is the Archetypes deck by Carolyn Myss. We've got Addict. So the current energies I'm looking at are around where are we at currently? Where are we feeling? Where's our energy when it comes to thinking about work and career for the collective? And then a card from the Sacred Creators Oracle. It's a beautiful deck by Chris Ann. And then we're going to need to get a little casual tarot to qualify my Santa Muerte deck, which I absolutely love. Some people are a little bit confronted by the Day of the Dead stuff. Whoa! Santa Muerte herself has come to greet us. Okay, cool. Wow, this is a bit heavy, guys, but what I'm seeing immediately is some of us are addicted to feeling not great at work. And what I mean by that, I know that sounds a bit crazy, but what I mean by this is that, you know, we can become addicted to wanting to be needed, to wanting to be helpful, to wanting to be useful, but also, you know, sometimes we're addicted to being even in a toxic environment purely because we're driven by fear of not knowing what else is out there, right? So we become addicted to giving, addicted to delivering, addicted to having the same stupid discussions / arguments with the dead shits at work that aren't like serving us, but we become addicted in that cycle because it's familiar, right? So that's what I'm immediately getting. So the light attribute of the Addict card is helps you recognize and confront addictive behavior. Great. So that's when we're conscious and we're aware and we're in alignment and we're feeling good. Shadow attribute, however, compromises integrity and honesty, allows an addictive pattern to have authority over your inner spirit. So I don't necessarily think for the collective I'm sensing the compromising integrity and honesty as much. Maybe within ourselves, yes. I don't think we're acting like jerks. I don't think we're like projecting that behavior outwards, but I certainly think that we're compromising our own integrity in some way. You know, we're not necessarily being as honest with ourselves as we could as to just how addicted we are to validation at work, right? So regardless of whether we're working in corporate, regardless of whether we're working for ourselves, running our businesses, we can become addicted to that rat on the wheel thing, because when we think about our relationships with work and so the meaning of work and what that sort of represents in our lives, and bearing in mind that also is linked heavily to finances, which in reality we need them, right? So there's a lot riding on work. So it makes sense for us to spend a lot of time, a lot of effort in our work. That is healthy. We need to do that. However, when it becomes unhealthy is when we're that mice on a wheel type situation where we're just going round and round and round and round and round because we need to do. We need to achieve. Because in the doing comes the result. And yes, there is an element of that, of course. You need to do the work to get the result. But when we become too in that energy, it's almost like we're burning ourselves out, right? So this is where the energy is heading, because we want to lead to our metamorphosis. So I think our current energy is we want to go on this path. We need change. And what is the big card about change in tarot? The Death card. So there's death and transformation that needs to happen, because major shifts need to happen in order for us to get out of this and get into our light, get into that space where we're feeling fulfilled, where work feels meaningful, where we come away from work thinking, oh, I've had a great day, you know, or at least, oh yeah, that was okay, but I could leave that behind and now my life begins, right? Separating our life from the rest of our work. So there's a desire as a collective to really, and I see metamorphosis also as about spiritual awakening too. You know, it's not just about getting another job. It's about finding meaning in the jobs. Yes, even corporate jobs can have meaning. You can even affect change and be impactful in a meaningful way in your work every day. We've just been conditioned to think that we can't, that they're weirdly separate things, or that we need to become a yoga teacher or become a tarot reader or to become a spiritual healer in order to have some meaning in our work. That's not true. Yes, those are very definite paths for certain people, and that is definitely a requirement. You know, those roles are necessary in society and in a community to help us all come together and find meaning and sort of ascend, but that's not necessarily the path for everyone. So it doesn't mean that that's what your metamorphosis looks like, right? It's about you going in that cocoon and figuring out what that is before you emerge and realize, through the transformation and change, through letting that cycle come to an end, through letting that addictive behavior go, through needing to feel validated and being addicted to the praise. That's a real inner child thing, right? Even if our boss, this is a great example. So I've had a boss, I mean, it could be my present boss, maybe not, don't want to be busted. But I've been in a situation where, despite the fact that I don't necessarily particularly respect him or think that he adds a lot of value to my life as a leader, I still, in some way, crave on an inner child level, and I'm a little bit addicted to wanting a little bit of validation. You know, like that. Like, at least if he accepts or thinks that I do a great job, then I'll be like, oh, okay, I knew it, right? It's almost like, why do I need a validation from someone that I don't necessarily respect or care for? Inner child, right? So through this in the collective, need to recognize the behavior, be honest with ourselves, figure out what it is that's going to help us align better with who we are, getting some meaning, getting some purpose, and allowing that change and transformation to come. Also, can I just say, how cool is that card? Like, seriously. Great deck. Cool. So that's sort of current energies. What's happening for us in terms of, you know, where we need to go? What's the path we need to look ahead at? What's the energy we need to work with to figure our way out of that? So we've got interesting gambler. They're feeling a little bit of risky business coming on, but let's see. And then Sacred Creators Oracle. Rise. Oh, I love. And then Santa Muerte. What do we need? Does it clarify what both those were? Right. Okay, people. Real talk time. Also, have you noticed the color scheme that's happened to have been created? This green here. So I'm also feeling immediately heart chakra work needs to happen. Opening our hearts. Making it less about our heads and going back into our hearts. So the story that this is telling me, the narrative that I'm seeing immediately is there's a lot of useful energy that's happening analytically in the sword energy, right? But I'm thinking overall, I'm sensing energetically, there's a need to balance that out with heart energy, right? Opening our hearts to really feel deep inside what it is that we want, what it is that we need. Because this is an interesting card. Now, the Gambler, willingness to follow intuition, even when others doubt you, but the shadow attribute, relying on luck rather than hard work. Boom. Okay. I felt that one. Yeah, look, I think in order for us to rise, to ascend, to achieve something that is more meaningful and well-rounded and more tangible and more fulfilling, right? In order for us to vibe higher with work, we really need to make sure we're putting in the work, ironically, right? As in, but this is personal work. This isn't work. It's not in a Rihanna work way. Although I probably should have had that playing in the background. That would have been, anyway, note to self. I do go on tangents, I apologize. But what I'm saying is this is inner work, right? This is about not just, because the thing is, this whole thing about being blinded, see this guy here, You know, willingness to follow intuition even when others doubt you. So it's going against the grain, right? But it's taking a gamble on yourself. It's taking a risk. So this has a real energy for me, like the Fool card in the tarot, you know, taking a leap of faith, believing and just seeing where that beginning of that journey will take you, right? And not relying on luck, relying on actually doing the inner work to be like, what is it that I want? What is it that I need? And you know what I find is really important? With the career coaching that I do as well, I find what's just as important, if not more sometimes, is knowing what you don't want, right? Thinking of all the jobs that have sucked, or all the managers that you've hated, or the colleagues that gave you the shits, right? And really reflect on, why was that? Do you know what I mean? Like, what were those moments or conversations, or what were those things that you remember that triggered such displeasure in you to be in that job, right? And really think about and use that as impetus, use those as building blocks to be able to figure out whatever it is that you do want. It's a really powerful place to start, even if you know what you don't want. Because some people would be like, well, I don't know what I want to do. And it's like, yeah, but you have a very clear idea based on your experience and your own intuition what you don't want, right? The type of boss you don't want, the type of projects you don't want to work on, the type of people that you don't want as clients. That's also a powerful place to come from. For some of it's recognizing that, particularly when you're working in energetic work, or you know, a small business owner, you have a limited amount of resources because you are the resource, right? Sometimes clients aren't aligned. Sometimes clients aren't prepared to do the work. They're not willing to meet you where you are, right? And sometimes, rather than come from a place of lack, we need to kind of go, you know what, that's not aligned with me, that's not meant for me, and having the courage to be okay with that, to rise above, right? So then the pathway forward for us is also Page of Swords and Eight of Swords. So this is interesting because Eight of Swords energy is very much becoming, it's like being in a prisoner of our own thoughts. It's like we're withholding ourselves. These, to me, are all negative beliefs and things holding us back. I'm not good enough. I'm not qualified enough. You know, I'll never get a job anywhere else because I've worked here for so long. I can't change careers because it's too late for me. I don't know what it is I want to do, so I'm just going to stay here. Like, all of those things. All of those things are Eight of Swords energy. But what you need to realize with the Eight of Swords is, in the traditional tarot in particular, it's very much about self-imprisonment, but it's actually self-imposed in the sense that it's not real. It's not reality, right? We're not bound by these thoughts. We can feel overwhelmed and overcome with sort of this fear, right? See those dark clouds descending? You know, that's scary shit. But at the same time, we have the power to be more controlled. So see the Page of Swords, like a student of life, right? Articulate, learning, taking things sort of like as they come, because it's very much like it's the thought stage before action. You know, before we take action, reflection, study, research, whatever that looks like, we really need to have more of this Page of Swords energy, right? Which is much more grounded and much more about open to possibilities without having sort of like an end goal in mind, because it's student, right? The student's just on that journey to learn. And then to get ourselves out of our heads, because that is unuseful. But this whole thing, I'm thinking, some of y'all out there need some deep heart chakra work. Get into your heart and out of your head, because the head's not going to serve you. It's right now for this work-related stuff, it is not going to serve you. So let's get some advice about how we overcome that. You know, like, what do we need to do? What do we need to focus on? What's going to help us find what it is that we need when it comes to work and career? Hero, heroine, like it. I've already seen there that it says light attribute, passion for a journey of personal empowerment. Hello, we just spoke about a journey. I love it. I love it when it all comes together. Stop, drop, and bliss. Oh, yes. Feeling this shit. Oh, do me that. It's actually really hard to shuffle with the camera like this. I need to figure out another way. So bear with me, guys, with this. Hierophant. Right. Okay. So, how we're going to get through this is, I think the key is actually this one. I think this is about pausing and really understanding, stopping yourself in your tracks and blissing out. Overthinking is not going to be helpful here. It's about getting into that space, in your heart space, your intuition, to trust, right? To know that in your heart of hearts, you know what it is that you want to do. So for some of you, there's a very strong message coming through for some of you that I need to talk about right now. It might not be for all of you, might not resonate, but for some of you, you need to stop your shit, because you know what your bliss looks like. You already know. For some of you, you're still under discovery. You're exempt from that little real talk moment. But for some of you, you are resisting the path you already know you should be on. And I'm feeling a really strong, my solar plexus chakra is actually really tight right now talking about this, plus my throat. Because I'm feeling for some of you, you're not feeling empowered. You're not sitting in your own seat of personal power. You already know, but you're not going there for whatever reason. And there's a huge call right now to be your own hero or heroine, right? Have a passion for the journey of personal empowerment. Shadow attribute, escapism or a false sense of heroism. Exactly. So there's a couple of meanings for this that I'm feeling immediately. For some of you, this is really about being your own hero, right? Not looking up to false idols. You know, like maybe there were people at work that you used to respect or look up to, but when you actually take a step back, stop, drop, and bliss, right? When you're in that intuitive zone and you think about it, they actually weren't very nice, or they weren't really that great. We put someone on a pedestal sometimes, but when we really sort of dig deep, we realize that they weren't as amazing as they thought they were, or you thought they were. And that can be confronting, because sometimes it's our own mentors, right? And sometimes it's our own teachers. And that's fine, because that's in your own journey. You need to become your own hero. You need to figure out whatever this stuff is, lies in with you, right? So whether it's, okay, so for some of you, whether it's a promotion, right? Stop relying on having a boss that sometimes actually holds you back because of their own fear, right? Sit in your own seat of empowerment. You don't need them. You are capable of doing whatever it is you need to do. And I understand you're a bit like, oh my God, they're my direct boss. What can, if they don't like me and if they don't help me sort of rise, what can I do? You know what? That's also about having the power to have a conversation with that person about what you need and being very prescriptive about what you require, and having the balls to say, I know I can do it. Here is my evidence, right? Because of X, Y, Z, because of the times I've done this, that, and the other, and have a negotiation with them. Get them in a room and be like, I deserve this because of whatever. Tell me if I'm wrong. And if I am for some, and they give you, mountains of evidence, which I doubt, because I think you all know how like baller you are. But if for whatever reason there is something that you're missing, cool, development plan. If there isn't, then you're kind of like, show me the money, or show me the next role, or whatever that looks like. And you know what? Sometimes we need to leave a job to ascend. That's just the way it is. I know we don't want to think that sometimes, but sometimes we just do. And that's the reality of this card too. Be your own hero. Forge your own journey, whether it means in that place, not in that place, on a completely other path, building your own career out of your own business. It's all up to you. It's all up to you, baby. Hierophant. This is tapping into spirituality, right? In the traditional tarot, it's kind of like, it's more around structured kind of tradition and structured indoctrinated thinking. I think of it more the way it's being depicted in here, where it's more around esoteric, seeking guidance from elsewhere, looking up to someone, so whether that be a teacher or a guide or whatever that looks like, to help you sort of figure out what that path is. Some of you might literally be wanting to use a Ouija board. I wouldn't recommend, because I'm terrified. However, if you do, let me know how it goes, if you survive. But in all seriousness, this is very much for me a card about, building your foundation in a way that's congruent with whatever your spiritual beliefs are. So it's structured, it's methodical, but it still has that spiritual element around it. It still has that sort of esoteric otherworldliness that can help us drop into whatever that is. And don't be afraid of that. Don't be afraid of seeking guidance from whether it is tarot, from whether it's a spiritual healer. Not all of us need traditional coaching. Some of us could do with kinesiology. Some of us could do with, it's different for everyone. But this could also be an indicator for some of you that maybe traditional methods aren't necessarily working for you or getting you the results that you need. Your approach needs to kind of change. So you need to be open-minded to other things that can take you there, right? Beautiful. So let's look at a couple of cards from this deck. So this is another, I love the Affirmators decks. I think they're just a little bit tongue-in-cheek, was great, but this is specifically for work. So I thought I'd pull 3 cards from here that gives us just some overall advice to close the reading in terms of, oh, that really wants to come out, what we can do. Love it. Can't make this shit up. Like, seriously, look at that. Bravery, self-reliance, and success. I mean, what? I'm going to read them out because they tend to be quite funny. So, congratulations, you are being awarded a hearty dose of bravery to be applied to any nerve-wracking situation that requires boldness, brashness, or balls. Bravery is the battering ram that will knock down any limitations your mind has built. Bravery is the shield that will protect you from the thoughts of, what if it doesn't go well? Bravery is the steed you will ride through the fields of go for it, try it, and it's better if you just ask for it. Oh my God, we've covered all of that. I love it. Bravery is even an excited army that will cheer you on, but you're the one that has to walk back and forth on a horse and make a long speech. Sorry. That also probably means you get to wear jumpers with stirrups. Does anyone remember those ski pants with stirrups? Anyway, digressing for 90s fashion, but it was not okay the first time around. But yeah, I couldn't even have said it better myself. I mean, that's probably like these cards, annoyingly, are probably a really good way to wrap up what I took 20 minutes to say. Self-reliance. I am confident, capable, walking, talking, learning machine, and I practice total self-reliance every chance I get. Even if something's tough, I can probably do it. Even if something is new to me, I can probably figure it out. Or maybe just Google it. Oh, and no one needs to know that my self-reliance relies on Google, so shh. I mean, let's be honest, everything relies on Google, even when we diagnose ourselves with things that we don't actually have. Dr. Google. Success. I open the floodgates and call all kinds of success into my life. Little everyday work success, big career-defining success, wild, unimagined, unexpected success. All success is welcome here. As long as it doesn't park in the neighbor's driveway, he will yell at us and break up the party. Fail. Yeah, booted that neighbor. Props my boss, that neighbor. Lol. Anyway, I don't know. I feel like I could just end it there because that's kind of tied up exactly all the things that we were talking about. Self-reliance, being brave, believing that we can do it. Otherwise, you know what? We're going to be able to figure it out, right? Have the balls and the boldness to go for what you want, Have those conversations, whether it's with yourself or with your boss or whoever you need to. Be brave and go in there and give yourself all those chances, right? And success is guaranteed because success doesn't need to be wild and career-defining. Great if it is, of course, but everyday little successes are also important. We need to be grateful for all of those things because they teach us, right? Well, that is a beautiful end to the reading. I hope that resonated with you guys. If I didn't get you this time, then maybe you'll come into my collective consciousness next time. Let me know what your thoughts are. Comment, share, subscribe. Trying to grow my audience. So hopefully we'll see you next time. Thanks. Bye.